Welcome to the Harvesting Wisdom podcast. Together we explore the vast landscapes of life, delving into the rich soil of experiences, sowing the seeds of curiosity, and harvesting the profound wisdom that each episode unfolds. Hi, welcome to another podcast of Harvesting Wisdom. I'm your host, Mike McMahon. Today I have with me Chris Lamont. Chris is with ASU now, but I'll let Chris kind of give us his profile and his background. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mike. Here. Really excited to be here, babe. Just the opportunity to talk to people about so many important things, community and learning and education. I think it's really a great thing that you're doing here.
Oh, thanks. So tell me a little about your background. How did you get to where you are now? The short version, not the...
I have the 7-hour version.
Yeah,
we don't have 7 hours. No.
Sure.
Well, I was born in New Jersey, moved to Phoenix. My family moved to Phoenix when I was in 4th grade and saw a movie called Star Wars. I don't know if anyone else has seen that before.
I'm a Star Trek guy.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw Star Wars and it was like something clicked. At some point, I think when you're young, movies are magic, you look at the big screen and you don't get it, but something clicked in my brain and it was like somebody wrote this and these are actors and this was a movie. And so I started doing research on filmmaking and I decided to make movies with my friends.
Wow.
And so I was the guy who basically coasted through middle school and high school making videos as homework assignments.
So what was the equipment of the time?
Oh my gosh. Well, I was using Super 8 cameras, that's how long ago I was doing that.
Yeah.
But basically once video came, I was, on the video train shooting via VHS and starting to use DV, all these different types of, tools. To me, it was like, it didn't matter what the camera was. It didn't matter the equipment. What mattered was telling stories and entertaining people and engaging them intellectually or emotionally, even in 6th grade, 7th grade, I started making horror movies because, they scare people. And, so to be able to create a story, be able to entertain people and have them hopefully take something away from your work. I think that's a great thing that every storyteller really aspires to.
Evoke emotions while you're doing it.
Oh yeah. It's amazing the power of film when it comes to being able to tell stories. And so I've been very fortunate along the way to be able to get drawn to and the opportunity to tell so many stories. As I've gone through into college, I went to Arizona State, graduated from ASU before there was a really cool Poitier film school like there is now. And I'm very fortunate to be teaching there. And started working with, after college with some friends of mine who are filmmakers too. And we actually did a cable TV show together, and it was like a Saturday Night Live kind of show. And we actually won a local Emmy Award for it, which was very exciting, local student Emmy Award. So it kind of started validating, everything that we do in regards to being able to tell a story and engage people. And we really wow, people are recognizing the work, we must be doing something right. And my friends who worked on that project, we actually decided to raise some money from there. And I directed my first feature film.
Now, early on, were you the actor as well? And did you get involved with makeup and props and sets and the whole thing and the writing? There's an awful lot that goes into it.
Well, Mike, I think when I was in college, I realized I wasn't good looking enough to actually be in front of the camera. There's nothing really special going on here. You know what I mean?
Nothing offensive either.
Nothing offensive, but then again, nothing really to hang your hat on. So I went behind the camera because I'll admit that, I like to control things.
Okay.
I like to be in charge of things.
Yeah. Okay.
And so, I think as a filmmaker, as a responsible filmmaker, you need to understand every single aspect of the filmmaking process. So, knowing what food that you need to do for catering, what you need to do to be able to build sets, how to get props, costuming, makeup. You need to know all of these things so you can communicate as a director or producer with the crew to be able to get what you're looking for as the visionary. So I've been on every set that I've done. I've worked on a lot of people's sets. I was the best craft services person you've ever had. for a couple of car commercials that I worked on, because filmmaking isn't really a steady thing. It's like you end up just gigging and taking every possible job that you can. So, I mean, I've done everything in all layers of filmmaking, every respect, educational stuff, shooting conferences, commercials, marketing, music videos. Along the way, it's just like whatever comes my way. And if there's an opportunity to be able to work and do my craft and do my art, I'm totally, that's what really excites me as an artist.
Yeah, that's everybody, and I think we're not just a generation, but our entire culture is based on entertainment, on films, initially films, and then we got into TV in the 50s and 60s, a similar concept. We have now Netflix, and I mean, you've seen the change of things, and I still watch the what's the movie channel that
Turner Classics, TCM.
Classics. I still every once in a while I'll click that on. I get bored with some of the stuff going on today, and I watch the old black and whites, and you go from early vaudeville days, and you can kind of see the progression. What I love is to be able to see period. You can do a period piece today from any time in history, but just watching the time that it was produced, how they interpreted it, but that now you look back and today you have all these new tools, these CGI and all these different things. So it's really a fascinating art. It's really an art form, right? And by watching, Turner Classics, or watching a movie done today that depicts something from 2,000 years ago, to me, that's a big part of the story. When they get the language and the wardrobe and everything right. I mean, that's a tremendous amount of detail.
The thing about film is that, you're talking about, the old black and white days, is that, even from the 1870s, when they first started, making films, when they invented motion pictures,
right?
It's always been the same process. Someone comes up with an idea, they write a script, people get excited about that idea and that script, and they go and make the movie.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter, what the tools are to be able to do it. If it's 35 millimeter film, IMAX cameras, you're shooting on DV. Sean Baker, who won the Best Picture for Anora, his first feature was called Tangerine. He shot it on his iPhone.
Wow.
And it got distributed and went to Sundance. So it's not a question about, getting lost in the CGI and all the different things.
Techniques.
The techniques, they're all the same. It's a wider palette at a lower cost than it has been in the past.
Okay.
When I was in college, I shot on 16 millimeter film. The only people shooting on 60 millimeter, shooting on film now are Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
Because it's expensive. Exactly. So, I mean, the digital revolution changed everything, for filmmakers. And my first films they were shot on digital. And, because that's what I had access to. I had access to the equipment, and I had access to enough funding to be able to do that. But it's funny because all the stuff that I shot back then, it's not in HD, it's not in 4K, so you can't really do anything with it anymore. People will be like, "Oh, was that a home movie you shot?" And it's like, no, actually, there was a cast and a screenplay, and we did this under a SAG with the SAG, contract. And it's like, but I think what's happened now is that audiences are used to a certain amount of technical prowess. And so it's difficult for, say, student filmmakers to compete in this arena now, because if your sound isn't quite good when you're making something, you can't show that in a movie theater. You can't, because audiences are comparing the sound that they hear, at Avatar, and Wicked, and these huge $200 million movies.
Got it.
In the same venue that you're showing a short film at, hopefully at a film festival. And the SkyFire Film Festival, by the way, plug.
Well, we'll get into that. What I noticed, because I've always watched movies as well, and, while I was raising the kids, went to movies all the time with them. But what I notice is that the storytelling is not necessarily as good as it was. Some, of course, is, but I see in a lot of these action pictures, it's just one well, it's violent thing after another. It's one sensational thing after another. You can't. It seems you can't stimulate the viewer enough, and then what's lost in that is the storyline. And sometimes that's why I'll go back to Turner Classics, even though not as not as sophisticated as today's technology, but the storyline to me. I mean, this is me through years and years of movie watching. But what do you think about that?
Well, first off, Mike, certainly there are a lot of action films that don't pass muster, but I hope you are not talking about the Mission Impossible series starring Tom Cruise. Okay, I will take exception to that in regards to that is movie making at its finest.
Okay.
And there are stories, and there's amazing actors, amazing crew, amazing cast. What they're able to do is phenomenal. And so you're absolutely right. There are I think the thing is that there are so many ways to show films, and because it is such a huge money-making operation for so many people. So you're getting films like you see movies on Netflix that never got into theaters, that get lost in the Netflix muck because Netflix doesn't put marketing power. If your independent film that you maybe got on Netflix isn't on the home screen when you launch Netflix, you're just another movie.
Right.
And so I think in the streaming world, it's really hard to be able to stand out, as opposed to when you get films into the theaters.
Yeah.
And, that's why it's nice that Netflix is actually starting to realize that they should be using theaters more often. They're doing that with Frankenstein right now. Yeah. And they are, like Sony always does and sends everything to theaters. Amazon is starting to that as well.
So that was kind of the old days. It'd start in a theater and then they'd play on TV, right?
Yeah, because marketing wise, it makes sense because suddenly now the awareness of a film that shows in theaters, is a lot better than just a movie that gets released on streaming. So, but there's always going to be good stories, and sometimes what you have to do is, as a viewer, you have to wade through and find those gems. That's why things like Rotten Tomatoes and seeing what people are saying about movies, I think that's super important.
That helps. Yeah.
Rotten Tomatoes is great because you're talking about what critics are thinking and also about what the general audience is thinking. And so, I haven't given up on the movie business yet. I haven't given up on movie storytelling. There are amazing artists in Hollywood and across the world that are telling great stories.
Yeah.
And it's really just a question of, how do you get through the haze of, all the different, information that's constantly bombarding you when it comes to social media and online, to be able to find those gems.
But it's part of our commercial system, right? And I'm not a huge fan of sequels. However, I see a great movie and I want to see it again, see that sequel. I want to see it, but it seems to me like a lot of films were written with series in mind or sequels in mind, but a lot of them, they came up with something great. There was a lot of money made, so they make a sequel. And at that point, the writing goes down.
Yeah, I agree with you. For every Empire Strikes Back that comes now, they followed Star Wars, which is an exemplary film. Then you have The Matrix, which is a brilliant movie. Yeah. And then you have, I don't know, were the 3, 5, 8, 12 other matrices that were made, which were all basically just cash grabs. Right. So I'm totally with you on that. Getting that something special is important. And then, you look at a film series like, I don't know, Fast and the Furious, which the first movie actually is really kind of a very cool movie about street racing and family. And suddenly in the last one, I think there's nuclear submarines. I don't remember. The fact that I own that on 4K, and I don't know how that happened. I may have been drunk or something at the time. And I was looking on my shelf because I actually still have hard media, at home. To all those of you who don't have hard media, when the overlords take over and shut down your Wi-Fi, I am still going to have movies that I can watch.
We'll go to your house.
Okay. I'm telling you, that when AI takes over, everybody else is screwed. All right. Because, hard media is going to save the day. All right. And continue our civilization.
I've given away all of mine. There's only so much stuff I can have in the house.
Mike, I'm telling you, 15 years from now, when Skynet is running everything, you're going to regret that.
That might be. Sometimes you go back to some movies, though, like a lot of the movies I thought were great in the 80s, and I go back and I'm like, oh, cheesy, not good, But anyway, we could go on and talk about that forever. You are still involved with movie making, but you got into education. So how did you make that switch? When did that happen?
Well, I started the Phoenix Film Festival back in 2000, and that was a really great opportunity to celebrate film in my hometown, basically.
Uh-huh.
And the thing about it is that if you're a filmmaker, you need to be able to connect with audiences. And there wasn't really a great film festival here in Phoenix back then. And so as an independent filmmaker myself, so I directed movies, I produced movies, I've written movies back then, short films. I saw there was a need here, and it was one of those 4 a.m. ideas. I was editing with my producing partner. I'm like, why isn't there a Phoenix Film Festival? We should start one. And then that sort of crazy 4 a.m. idea, took hold. And suddenly the community, the filmmaking community here in Phoenix rallied around this idea, because filmmakers need audiences to be able to connect. You can't just make movies for fun.
Right.
And so that was an idea that, I went to the city of Phoenix. I said, hey, can you use, there is a, I'm going to get back to your question. I swear to you, Mike.
I'm here.
I went to the city of Phoenix in 2000 or 99. I said, hey, we want to start the Phoenix Film Festival here. Can we use can we see Phoenix in the title? And I met with the Phoenix Film Office, and they're like, well, sure. No, we can't stop anyone from using this name Phoenix, but we love this idea to be able to promote filmmaking in Phoenix and in Arizona.
Sure.
And we actually got support from the city. They actually let us have a cubicle in City Hall in the film office for the first 3 years of the festival, which was amazing.
Wow.
We had, a lot of sponsors and partners came on because they all saw a vision of not only being able to celebrate film and filmmaking, but also creating a cultural event here in the Valley that really says something and provides opportunities for anyone who has a dream about making movies, short films, documentaries, features, foreign films, any type of movie, from all kinds of cultures, all kinds of ethnicities. Anybody who has a film that they create that needs to be shown to the world, that's what a film festival is for. And so we started with 3,000 people. Somehow we got 3,000 people to come out. I think I may have given out like 1,000 tickets to do that.
That's all right.
But at the end of the day, we didn't lose money, because I put money into the festival to get it started. And then someone asked, hey, when's next year's festival? And I hadn't even thought about a date. It was like, oh, well, we want to just get through this one first,
Yeah.
So we started with 3,000 people, and then over it's crazy, the decade. So we just hit our 25th anniversary. 25,000 people coming through the doors over a 2-weekend event. It's pretty amazing over at the Harkins Scottsdale 101 here in Phoenix.
And the Harkins have always been a center of
very much
movies here.
Yes, especially independent film. And so they have supported the festival for years and years and years. And Phoenix Film Festival actually is in the middle of April. Coming up next year. So, if you have never been to really a world-class film festival, you should really check out the Phoenix Film Festival, because it is amazing. Over 200 films get shown every year. You can't possibly watch every single film at the Phoenix Film Festival, but you will find a film for every taste. Filmmakers are flown in from all over the world to be able to do Q&As and to be able to talk about their movies. If you're in the audience, you can ask questions even after the films. Filmmakers are hanging out. And let me tell you, the one thing a filmmaker likes to talk about are their movies. And so you can wind them up, and they go. But that's the neat thing, is that not only are you going to the theater and you're seeing these amazing stories, but then you're also meeting the artists behind it. And that's really what makes a film festival special.
Yeah, and I've gone to Cannes, and I've gone to San Sebastian and to Sundance quite a bit, because I ski. So that was my first experience with a festival. And reality is I would go up, and all these people from New York and LA and all over the world are there, taking up all the hotels and the restaurants. And the beautiful thing is there's not that many people skiing. So that's the first. I always go there because I can ski without a lot of crowd. And then I started to actually go to some of the movies, and what fun. And I love the app, because I couldn't afford the $10,000, go to everything,
Sure.
ticket at the
Who
time.
can? Okay.
Well,
who can,
plus,
really.
plus I didn't know enough to know. Maybe I would have, later on if I had the time to go and try to see so much. But what I ended up doing was I'd go to some of these movies with the app, and you'd buy your ticket at the last minute. You had an opening; it was kind of a lottery type thing, and boom, and then you'd have to jump in your car and make it, because it was all over. It was in multiple cities,
Yes.
and you'd go over, and then I saw a real fun movie. I saw a lot of movies there, but I saw one that was where the entire cast was there,
Oh,
the
sure.
director, and then I liked the documentaries because they would really explain, how many years they had worked on.
Sure.
One of them was, on chemicals going into to the rivers and stuff, and I really enjoyed that, and the people were talking the science and everything behind it. So I know what you're talking about. It's an infectious thing when you start going to these festivals, and it's like I can't go to all of them, but I want to. And which one should I go to?
Right.
And you don't know if you're going to one that's or you're going to one that's like, wow,
Yeah.
this is amazing, And so that's the fun part of it, and then the parties around it too. There are
Oh, well,
almost
yeah. I mean,
lots of private parties.
I don't want to sound very intellectual and artistically cultured. I was talking about film festival before, but absolutely, there's parties. All right, there's a
Right.
lot of parties.
Well, it's entertainment. It's fun, right?
Yeah.
That's a big part. I mean, it's a big thing to come into a city. And you did mention the next the festival you're helping us with as well. But before we get to that, let's go back to the education part.
You see, I was right there. So I got hired as a faculty adjunct at ASU because of my independent filmmaking background,
Okay.
and also about the film festival. Yeah, I was hired for one class to teach independent film, just going through and showing movies like Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, John Cassavetes, all the independent film greats.
The big day.
And for some reason, Mike, I don't know why they have continued to hire me for the last 21 years to continue teaching.
Yeah.
And, it's been great to see the program at ASU. And it was, honestly, I taught the very first film production class at ASU in the school of what then was just the School of Theater. And there was no equipment. It was me saying, hey, raise your hand if you have a camera. And some students raised their hands. I said, okay, who's got access to an editing system? A few students. I go, all right, so camera and editing, we're going to make you a team. And who wants to be a director? Who wants to be a writer? Who wants to help?
Wow.
And that was how we made movies before there was an official program. And those students, the one from those classes, they actually were the ones who petitioned the university and said, we need a film degree. And that's the whole reason why there's even a film school today at ASU, because it was started by students who wanted to learn how to tell stories.
Sure.
And, since then, and the very first class of film degree majors who were able to get a degree from film, there were 13 of them, 13 graduates. Now, the Poitier Film School, it became its own film school 4 years ago. There's over 1,000 students now at Arizona State who are learning how to make movies.
Arizona State is, I think, the biggest university in the country. And if we look at Phoenix being fifth or sixth city, but what Phoenix is really Tempe, Mesa, and all the surrounding. So it's got a great population to support a lot of this.
Yes.
The school, of course, is, huge. It's humongous. So, and this is also a great place to do movies, right? All the way from John Wayne coming out in the Westerns to the area, our general area, all the way into Monument Valley in Utah. But we got mountains, we got pines, we got deserts, everything is, and we're so close to Hollywood here too.
It's true. There's a great study that was done actually by Arizona Highways Magazine, where they figured out that here in Arizona with the topography, you can actually replicate all 48 contiguous states here in Arizona.
Wow.
And it was very clever. But it shows how great this state is in regards to providing opportunities for people to tell stories, and yet very close to LA. I mean, it's, 45-minute plane ride, 6-hour drive.
Yeah.
And, so supporting filmmakers has always been, a great thing that Arizona is able to provide. Hopefully we'll be able to start providing more. Arizona has a incentive for filmmakers to come here. Unfortunately, it's not as great as the one in New Mexico that has, Netflix owns a 9 soundstage studio there, and they have a 35% rebate on all money spent in New Mexico for any television show that's shot there. So Arizona has some things on the books that they want to avoid the idea of what Arizona is called a flyover state. Don't want people to fly over Arizona to go to New Mexico, or fly over Arizona to go to Louisiana or Atlanta or anything like that. They want to keep and really promote filmmaking here. And so it's a slow going.
I'm sure there's a tipping point at some point too, where it becomes, even though there's a discount given, the economy is boosted enough to justify it.
Yeah, I mean, producers are always looking to spend their money as thriftily as possible.
Of course.
And, when you've got other states besides Arizona, who are able to provide huge incentives, yes, there is a incentive on the books, which is important. So it puts us at least into into the ring, we still can, we have a puncher's chance of being able to get stuff. But, that's the one thing about, being able to create the film school is, and having the film school with so many different students is just giving everyone the opportunity to be able to tell their stories. And, hopefully those students have a place that they can stay here one day and apply their trade and do their art instead of just going to Los Angeles, like a lot of students have to do to be able to try and be successful in this industry.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting. And yeah, I'm looking, I like New Mexico, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have quite the variety that we have in Arizona,
Listen, it doesn't matter how you shoot New Mexico. It doesn't matter what angle you shoot. It is New Mexico.
Yeah.
All right. It looks the same. It's flat. If you ever watched Breaking Bad, there's like one helicopter shot of downtown they really used for 7 straight seasons, because there's only like 5 tall buildings, with all due respect to everyone in New Mexico and Albuquerque. There isn't a lot of different terrain. It's different from Arizona. And that's one of the selling points for coming here, is that you do get a very robust downtown,
So you've been teaching.
I've been teaching
for the last 21 years. Are you full-time at that or still adjunct?
I'm full-time. I went full-time in 2015.
Okay.
But in the meantime, I still was, I've been producing features, and I still have my own media production company. But I met my writing partner, Joe Russo, at ASU. And we started a partnership in 2008. And so we actually have been writing screenplays since then. And we got our first script optioned in 2016. And since then, we've had 5 screenplays that we've written been produced into films. And they're right now on Hulu and Tubi and Netflix.
So what are the names of those 5 films? I'm not trying to give you a trick question.
No. The ones that I think that we are really proud of the most, there's a movie called The Inheritance, and we do supernatural horror thrillers. That's kind of our wheelhouse.
Uh-huh.
So if in LA, if someone's looking for a suspense thriller, they call our managers and agents and they say, hey, we're looking for someone to pitch an idea for a suspense thriller. So they call us. We did a movie called The Inheritance. That's on Hulu right now, and it's a 75-year on the eve of his 75th birthday. A billionaire calls his estranged family back together and says that someone is trying to kill him, and if you can't protect me before midnight, you all lose your inheritances. That's the title. But the trick is,
you may have seen it.
Here's the switch.
Remember
here's the spoiler. It's not someone trying to kill the billionaire. It's something. Supernatural horror.
All right, don't give it up.
Well, I pretty much gave it up right there, but not too much, because the way it goes is really good. There's a movie called Soulmates that, if you are a big, huge fan of the Saw movies, you're probably not. But the pitch was, it was internet dating meets the Saw films, and that came out. We were really excited about that film. There was a movie called The Locksmith that had like Ving Rhames and Ryan Philippe and Kate Bosworth were in that one. We did a movie called The Au Pair Nightmare that ended up being sold to Lifetime, female suspense thriller that my writing partner actually directed. And then there was probably the black eye that we have in our filmography is a movie that's called Hard Kill. It was one of those straight to Netflix streaming Bruce Willis action movies that you kind of derided earlier.
Unlike some of the Bruce Willis, at least the first
you won't like this movie.
Before.
All right, nobody likes this movie. Okay, I promise.
I gotta see it
because no, don't see Hard Kill. The original screenplay we wrote was actually really, really good. It was about AI and threat of AI, and it basically got bought by this producer, and they kept making the budget smaller, and until the AI that originally was like a cyborg disguised as a human that had taken over a country was reduced to a box about the size of, I don't know, a computer. So it was very exciting. Please don't anyone's listening to this. Please do not watch Hard Kill. It's terrible.
No, everybody's gonna watch Hard Kill first.
No, because what happened is that the thing is that as a screenwriter, once you sell a script, you have no control over what happens with that script. And that was a script where the producers were honestly too cheap to have us do a rewrite. And so the director rewrote over half of the movie. Wow. And so we actually went on set because I'm like, well, heck, if we're going to, Bruce Willis is in our movie, I want to meet John McClane. You know what I mean?
Sure. Absolutely.
So we flew out to Cincinnati. It was 20 degrees. We're shooting in this warehouse. And so we got to meet Bruce Willis, which was super cool. And so we're sitting in Video Village and, waiting to hear John McClane say our lines. And Joe and I suddenly look at each other because we're hearing different words come out of Bruce Willis's mouth. We're like, what's going on? And that's when we discovered that the entire script had pretty much been rewritten. And it was gut wrenching. It was like someone just, punched me in the face and said, well, you got to meet Bruce Willis, which was cool. But then, even my kids saw that movie and they're like, man.
Wow. As an artist too,
oh my gosh, as an artist, absolutely. But, the other thing is this. The way we looked at it is, okay, horrible movie, but you know what? It employed 45 people. And there are some people who like the movie, a very, very small amount of people who like the movie, but the fact that 45 people had jobs because of an idea that we hadn't created, like that, there's something to that you can hang your hat on.
It's part of the mix.
Yeah.
So you're still involved with doing that. And also helps give
We've got several
big
projects.
Credentials with all the students to know that you've done this and that you're doing it and that kind of thing. Somehow I think maybe Peter or Dr. Joe, somebody found your name. We've podcasted with a lot of movie people, documentary people, because the documentaries, like you say, tell the story of the community. It tells the story of sustainability. It tells the story of what's happening with the environment.
Sure.
Agriculture, and it's almost a better way, if done right, than writing a big old long book. And a lot of people don't listen to maybe a podcast or a radio program they're not looking through the New York Times, which the left, one of the few newspapers left. So a lot of these things that are happening worldwide, nobody knows about it. So it's a really great way to put things out, especially if done well. And we certainly had no abilities in that arena. And then you used the term earlier, rallying. And I can't believe Joe's been kind of the driver of the thing. And we've met you and Kelly and a whole bunch of other people. And they're like, you should do a film festival. It's like, oh, sounds like an okay idea, but we have no idea. And so people have rallied to really come and help. And what's amazing is they've talked to the mayor of the Phoenix, Tempe, and Mesa.
Yep.
They're all in. And then I started to come to the reality after the fact that, what, this is a super event for this area. But it's also really resonates with what we do at Urban Farming. And that is, bringing light on environmental issues, primarily food and food injustice worldwide. So, we've met people and we do podcasts all over, and there's films being made everywhere too. So we'll have this international thing going on too. And yeah, I looked in on the internet, and I use chat, and it's like, who else is doing environmental documentary film festivals? And there's a few. I think there's 3 big ones in the U.S., but they're limited. They're limited to maybe one venue, or they've been around and they're maybe boxed in a little bit with what they're doing. But certainly there's a need for it in my mind. And the idea of doing it in Phoenix is in Tempe and Mesa, and then ultimately statewide is phenomenal. But it can't be done without the support of ASU and the support of Phoenix Light Rail and or I guess Rural Metro is what it's called. I don't want to get that wrong. And the Science Center and the Nile Theater, and now students, and to me it's a little overwhelming because we've been in the nonprofit space for a long time trying to do things, and getting the voice out is near impossible, or getting people to have any passion or concern. This kind of gives that ability to show people, hey, this is really what's going on. And so that's I don't know, when you're brought into this, you certainly have more than enough going on. Why did you even say, yep, I'll help you guys out? This is a good thing.
Well, I think that anyone who hears what the idea about sustainability and environment, I can't imagine someone being like, no, I don't want to support sustainability. I don't care about the environment. You know what I mean? Like, you're not looking. Any rational person wants to help support what this is all about.
Right.
And so to me, I'm not surprised, honestly, about the success that the team that's putting this together has done already, and just seeing because the vision is there. And I think the neat thing is that, there's always going to be like, oh, let's go out and we'll do, clean up a litter, hey, let's, help, this particular group do farming or whatever. But the fact that it's honestly really brilliant to be able to wrap the vision of the group around a cultural event. It's more than just helping with, helping, with recycling.
Right. Although we will do events.
Oh, I know.
Clean up in each cities.
Right.
And we've got Republic, and we've got,
totally
all these waste people too. I mean, it's an amazing.
But I think the thing is this: just saying, oh, we have a day of activity where we're, being conscious, and we're putting forth an effort cleaning up the cities, that kind of. You could do that all day long, but the fact that you're anchoring this around this film festival idea.
Absolutely.
I find that to me is a really smart idea, because then the buy-in is, we're not just doing something once. Because the thing about a film festival is you can do it every year.
Oh, it should be, sure.
And a good film festival will get better and better and better.
Yeah.
And one thing I did want to mention that I was thinking of while you were talking earlier is this idea about how important documentary is, especially in this space, in the environmental space, is that with the tools that are available right now, anyone can go make a movie. Like, you can honestly go online and look at YouTube videos, and you can get the software, and you can go shoot with your phone, and you can make a movie that highlights something that maybe you feel is important in the world. You don't have to have a huge crew and multiple cameras, and you don't have to do that. With documentary is a very forgiving space, right? Because can you see it? Can you see the story? Can you hear the story?
Yeah.
Can you tell your story?
It opens up your curiosity as a person, but you can make your own judgment. That's what I love about it. It's not meant to be propaganda at all. It's literally.
No, Mike, don't get me wrong. all film is propaganda. I mean,
Okay.
a filmmaker always has
His inside idea or her inside
has
idea.
an idea of the story they want to tell. And you can be as objective as you want. I mean, documentaries tend to try and be objective so that people can get their own opinion on things. But a filmmaker has an agenda. They want to spotlight something. Sure, it's always great to have an objective viewpoint, but at the end of the day, there's a reason why that film was made.
Okay.
And so, frankly, I'm in favor of activist documentaries.
Okay.
Because it's like, get that story, find that story, see something that bothers you, and don't just say, "Oh, that bothers me." Like, take action. Like, take up your phone. Every phone now you can shoot a movie with. Sean Baker showed that. And you can make short films, and you can edit on your phone right now. You could put titles. I mean, when my kids were growing up, I mean, that's what they did. They did their school projects on their iPhone, there was titles and all kinds of stuff. So all those tools are available for everybody.
And you've got the concept that you just brought up was how people see and support, right? One of the things I always say is, once you see it, you can't unsee it. So we live in a world where there's so much bombardment of information and people looking for money and scamming and everything else, and things that might be in, Asia. We were just in Asia,
Sure.
Mongolia and Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, or they might be in Africa. They're so far away. They're so easy to ignore.
Right.
And even here in our own community, there's areas that people are struggling, right? And so, but once you see it, you can't unsee it. One of the things that I noticed in COVID, we had agave farms right on Central, and we were somewhat shut down because everybody was somewhat shut down. And we decided to do food distribution because people were losing jobs. If you owned a restaurant, worked in a restaurant, if you were shipping food, if you're a farmer. So there were people shut down for a good chunk of time, and not everyone has like enough money to pay their bills and pay food. So we were seeing at that time that there were people in all levels of the economy that were in trouble. So we worked with St. Mary's Food Bank and with farmers, and we got volunteers. What blew me away was that we got, I think, like 1,000 volunteers, and people would come out Saturday mornings in the summer at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to do this. And I was kind of blown away. But people would come to me and say, "Look, I've been stuck in my house. This at least feels like I have an opportunity to do something good."
Right.
And it was almost like them going to church once a week, right? And doing something. And I think that's one of the reasons why we will do other projects like cleanups, and gardens, and that kind of thing. Anything we can think of that allows people to participate and be hands-on with things. So that's one of the things. But you, I think, are also part of the selection. Are you part of the selection committee? Have you?
I'm involved in you know what? Whatever they need for me to do, like, I'm going to help out because I want to see this be as successful as it possibly can. Right. I think that just the idea that this festival is a venue to be able to tell stories about sustainability and about the environment may inspire someone to pick up a camera and start telling a story. If you're walking down, the riverbank and you see, a company illegally dumping waste, into that water, pull out your camera, make a phone, take your phone, start shooting stuff and tell the world.
Right.
And that's the most important, I think. When you're talking about activism, it's not just doing things with your hands, coming up with ideas like you're talking about. Yes, absolutely, feeding people is amazing, sure. But this is something else, I think, that people maybe don't think about. The idea that
we're all part of the community.
Right. Anyone can tell a story if they have enough passion to do it. And I think that's the big takeaway here, is that people will see these movies, and if you're able to inspire one person to start telling a story on their own, I think that you've done your job as an artist.
Yeah, and it's SkyFire is the name given to the Film Festival. It'll be March 27, 8, and 9, I think. It's interesting because that wasn't my first choice of names. I was like, what does that mean or whatever? But we were talking to indigenous people in Kyrgyzstan, and they used the same SkyFire is what they had, as a term for how they dealt with the environment. It was kind of I was like, whoa, that's coincidental or not, I don't know. But the idea of this thing coming up here in Phoenix and also kind of surprises me is the support we're getting from companies and organizations that want to be a part of it and they want to sponsor some of this. And then I started to think, well, you know what? This is a real event. This is kind of like the TPC and something, or the car auction, or the main events that come through Phoenix and Tempe and Scottsdale and that sort of thing. This has got the potential of being on that level, from a different standpoint, though. But it's still a community driver.
Sure.
And I think that that kind of surprised me. It's not something of course, it's nothing I really came up with the idea of at all. There's other people who've kind of brought it all together. And, but it looks like it's going to be great. And our goal is to get volunteers, because you need those, ushers and parking attendants and everything else.
Sure.
And to try to get as many people to see it and enjoy it as they can. So anyway, any last words on that? Because we're getting the hook from the producers.
I just think that if there's an opportunity to go out and see movies,
anyway,
whether it's to be entertained, to be given intellectual stimulation, to be able, the magic, I think, of film is that it takes every single art form that exists and brings it all together into one. Yeah. And it has the capability of changing the world.
Anyway,
film done correctly, movies done correctly, stories told can change the world.
Yeah.
And it'll be great to see what happens with SkyFire. And I highly encourage everyone to come to the SkyFire, to come to Phoenix Film Festival, to come and experience the work these artists are doing. And maybe you'll learn something.
And maybe even meet the artist.
Maybe you'll be entertained, But I think the most important thing is that this is an art form that contributes so much to who we are as a culture, and it can be useful, it can be important, and it really just sort of depends on how we take advantage of it and how we're able to use it to be able to make things better.
And hopefully it advances all of the film people in the industry, the movie lovers.
Yeah.
Hopefully in this state of Arizona.
People love documentaries. People love documentaries.
Yeah. So, well, I appreciate you being here today. For all of you, SkyFire, March 27, 28, 29. Please come. If you love this series, please subscribe to Harvesting Wisdom Podcast. And Chris Lamont, I really appreciate you being here and all the help you're giving. Without it, we would be floundering.
Well, I don't believe that is going to happen. I'm happy to contribute where I can, but
people who know what they're doing makes a difference.
It's going to be very exciting to see what the next few months hold for the film festival and for the organization.
Yeah,
I'm all on board.
Yeah, and we're going 100% full bore on it. Appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you for joining the Harvesting Wisdom Podcast. Click subscribe and like for ongoing insightful conversations. Explore our webpage for show notes and additional resources. Visit our guests' webpage for deeper insights. Your engagement is the foundation of our journey, and until next time, keep pursuing wisdom.